Krista Craig.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen. The Home Enthusiast. That's did I get that right?
You did. Yeah, very good.
How was Florida?
Florida was great.
Where did you go in Florida?
We were in Longboat Key, which is outside of Sarasota.
Yeah. Oh, Sarasota. I've heard a lot of good things about Sarasota.
It was great. Yeah. My whole family goes down there.
Yeah.
Started with like my grandparents. They had a timeshare condo, then my parents. And then 2 years ago, just before COVID, we bought, it's just like a week timeshare.
Right.
So now my whole family, like the generations now are all buying them. And then we can go down at the same time. We're all in different condos.
Right.
But we can spend time together in Florida.
Man, I went to Florida not too long ago, about a month ago.
Yeah.
We're in December now, but sometime early in November. Man, people just want to talk to you over there. Very friendly.
Very friendly. Very friendly.
Very friendly. I walk into a pet store and we're just having a conversation, which is nice. Eh?
Yes. Yeah. People I feel like are I don't know, maybe it's because it's a vacation area, but people are just more chill.
Yeah.
Even the people who are working in the stores are just more chill, or the restaurants. The customer service.
Oh my goodness.
It's actually unbelievable.
Isn't it?
It is unbelievable. The customer service in the States in general. Is unbelievable. Yes.
It's hilarious you picked up. I want to talk about more of that actually. And then we'll segue into what we're doing.
Okay.
My goodness. Like, hello, sir. How you doing, sir?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, and it's a little kid too.
Yes.
Like a young kid.
Yeah.
They take pride in that.
Yeah. There's the manners and there's the customer service, and it doesn't matter where you go, it seems that they all have this, they're just genuinely polite. And I find that the conversation again on vacation or not with servers or whoever is, you can really sense when the other person is just being polite or if they're actually being genuine. It's kind of interesting.
For example, in a restaurant,
yes,
you have to be a certain way.
Yes,
but I didn't feel that way.
No,
and it wasn't for the tip.
Exactly, they're not just working for their tips.
Yeah,
yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Well, I want Orlando. Have you ever been to Orlando?
When I was younger.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And how far how far is Orlando from Sarasota?
Orlando, I think, is about 3 hours.
Oh, okay,
I've never gone from where we are to Orlando. I think when my kids are older, we'll maybe do that, but we haven't been to Disney World yet. I haven't been to Disney World since I was 10 or 12.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say, hey, listen, once again, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And wanted to, the premise of the show is really to let the audience learn more about that business owner. And you've been a business owner. You've launched the Home Enthusiast, which is a staging and decoration company.
Yep.
Take me back to when you decided to launch that, and how long has it been in your mind, in the play?
So I always had kind of, for the last couple years, well, probably 3 or 4 years ago, kicked around an idea because I always loved organization. So I always kicked around an idea of doing kind of a organization company where I would go into someone's home and, organize their kitchen or closet or that kind of thing. And I did that for friends. But then I worked, at Good Shepherd, and that was taking up my time between that and kids. And I loved working at Good Shepherd. I'd worked in HR, so corporate, and then I worked in not-for-profit for 10 years and loved it. But at Good Shepherd, it came to the point where I'd been there for 7 years, 3 different jobs, liked the team, liked my boss, but was on maternity leave and thought, this is the time, if I'm going to do something on my own and see if I could do it, this is the time to give notice and start something. Because I knew if I went back to Good Shepherd after my maternity leave, it was my last one, I knew that, I would get comfortable back at Good Shepherd, which I really liked, and probably wouldn't take the risk of then leaving. It was easier at that point to just break it off. And I thought, I hadn't really even known about staging. I'd always really liked style, decor, helping friends and family make their living rooms nicer, whatever, helping source furniture. And then I honestly forget how I even found out about staging, but I ended up taking a course over maternity leave, and I thought, now or never. Yeah. This is it. And I just felt like it was something I had to do. And I thought, if I fail, I will find something else. Like if this doesn't end up working, I'll find something else, but I have to try this.
Yeah, this is something for you too, right?
It was.
It was so close to, because I think we're on a golf course. We're talking about this.
Yes.
This was set in stone. This was supposed to happen regardless whether you're going to decide then or then to launch after your maternity leave.
Yes.
There's a skill behind what you do. Yeah, it's obviously, right? Has that always been something that you had, or has it developed over time?
I think it was just an interest, and I actually didn't even recognize it as a skill. I thought when people could look at rooms or look in their home, they could see the potential and see how to make things beautiful and functional. I just thought everyone had that. And then the more family and friends recognized, I guess, in my home, I was surprised when we first had my husband and I had our first townhouse. You know, I decorated it and did what I did, and people were like, oh, this is really nice. Like, oh, why did you do this here? And that kind of thing. And I just was like, I don't know. It just made sense to me. So I think along the way, I've realized that not everyone has this skill. And certainly with staging, when you go into people's homes and you change their home and then they come back in and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm always kind of still surprised, where it's like kind of shrug and it's like, I don't know. Yeah, this looks good. I thought everyone could do this. Right. So it's kind of cool. It's one of those skills that I feel like it's not necessarily a big deal. But I think it's because it's just natural. Like I can just see things. I can just see it.
Right. And going into someone's home, you want them to be part of it or not part of it. How do you balance that? Just because, you're especially, some households, they take pride in
absolutely
what they put together.
Yes.
But
and
they're getting ready to sell it, and you want to help them. And
yes.
So how do you find that happy medium, like to say, oh,
okay. So that is a skill that I've learned in the last year, in the last year and 3 months now, because I've done about 75 stages in the last year. And that is partly to do with the market being crazy starting last February.
Right.
I got a lot of business, and then it was word of mouth, and I just kept getting business. So I think coming in last September, learning kind of for 4 months, and then the market kind of took off and got a lot of business there. But over the 75 or so homes that I've done, the people part of it and how to read homeowners and how to say the hard stuff to homeowners. Like if something needs to be moved or something needs to be tidied, that is the part that I feel like I then bring that to real estate agents that they sometimes don't know how to say themselves. Because that's what usually I'm being hired by an agent.
Right.
And I've said to agents, it's great to hire someone like me because I don't have as intimate relationship with the client. My client's the agent who hires me. So I can go in and I do it very nicely.
The bad cop, huh?
I'm the bad cop. So I say to the agents, use me as the bad cop. And you tell me, first of all, if they have an opinion on what should be done, or maybe they've already said to the homeowner, these are the things you can be done. And then I can back that up if I agree when I go in. I always like to talk to the agent first and get the story of the homeowner. Because going in knowing what kind of stress level the homeowner's at, what are the circumstances of the move, not every move is happy. Not every move is exciting.
Not every move is happy.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So can you explain about that part?
So I have done stages for people going through a divorce who are selling a home because they're divorced or getting divorced. I have gone into one particularly last year home. It was quite sad because the agent gave me a heads up, which was great, that they had to sell their home because they couldn't afford it anymore.
Right.
So I go in with a different mindset and different sensitivity, especially going into homes where I know that things are already probably really stressful. Things are stressful when it's a happy move, let alone a not great move. So I think for staging, that's what I try to bring different to my business, is having that personality where I should be able to go in as a stager and make your home look great. What I try to do is also bring that personal side to it, because I want the homeowners to have a least stressful time with me as possible. And in fact, I try to make it fun. So if I read people when I go in that they've got a personality that they're fun, I try to bring that. Why not? Why not make the time that I'm there fun?
Taking kids along.
Sure,
And
exactly.
giving them options.
Yes.
You want option number 1 or option number 2?
Yes.
But both options were selected by you.
Yes.
In a sense, in
Yes.
a way. Not to be sneaky like that, but you kind of have to because you want the best outcome, right?
And I want the best outcome for them.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people can read right away, because I know when I go into homes, there has been people who either don't know what I'm doing there, don't understand staging, so are skeptical, or think they know what I'm doing there and don't want me there. Yeah. And again, I'm being hired by the agent. So that's an interesting feeling going in, where I know I'm not really wanted there, but I have a job to do, and my job is to the real estate agent and to the homeowner.
So that's a big difference. That's a little bit helpful for you because it's more B2B. It's supposed to be to consumer.
Correct.
So your relationship really is by that real estate agent.
Correct.
And so you could essentially, you want to respect that though, the relationship for the sake of the real estate agent, but there's not that added pressure.
I think for me, I'm actually wanting, I'm just as much actually wanting even though the real estate agent is my client and is the one that's paying me at the end of the day and is the one that hopefully I'm going to get repeat business from, I actually think if I do a good job and the homeowner's happy, that is just as good for me as if the agent's happy, because I guarantee you, and I've been told this before, that the homeowner goes, I can't wait to tell the agent about you.
Right.
And then that's great, because then the agent's like, oh, good, the homeowner likes you, so I will use you again.
But you know what? People appreciate straight shooters.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
I'd rather you tell me if I have ketchup on my shirt than just let me
Absolutely.
walk around like an idiot.
Yes. Yes.
So sometimes tough love, it's actually works best.
And that's what I say. I always say, I'm here to be part of your team. I'm here to be part of your team to get your house sold. I want the most money for your home, and I want your home to be on the market the least number of days possible. So I say, I'm going to give you all of these recommendations, but it's up to you what you want to do. Because most of the time they're doing the homework. Like they do the decluttering. I go through and do a consult. Then I write a report with all the different things I would recommend they do.
Oh, so the decluttering is the homeowner.
The decluttering is the homeowner. There's a type of service that I will help them do it, and I will use sometimes their decor to restyle. But most people need to at least minimize stuff in their home. Most people need to box up just some items, or else it's way too cluttered.
Interesting.
Yes.
No, I thought, okay, so then you probably have partnerships. Let's say if they need somebody to come in and move things around as far as declutter. There's services like that you partner with? Or
Yeah, or I will do it.
a hoarder, for example. You know?
Yeah, and a hoarder, I would say, is that is more than a clutter relief service would need to go in almost first. I am for like the minimal average person who has clutter in their home that needs to put lots of stuff away for photos and for, showings and open houses. So we're just trying to, for the most part, clear out as much stuff as possible, make it neutral, take down all the family photos, make neutral colors as much as possible. So usually the homeowners, I email them. I go through at the consult and tell them all my recommendations. Then I will go home and write it all up for them in a checklist, because who doesn't like a checklist, right? So then they get a checklist, and I've seen people with my checklist, they've gone through and they've actually marked everything, and they actually have shown me before.
That's great.
Like, I did all this. Look at, like, they're actually proud when I come back to do the stage that they've done it all. And I'm always like, oh my gosh, look how good this looks. And it's amazing how many people have said to me, my home feels so different. In my next home, I don't want this stuff. Like, I don't want as much stuff.
So they actually get educated.
Absolutely.
They're getting some money, their return on their own investment there.
Yes. Well, a lot of times they're not even paying, because the agent usually pays.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So once in a while, the homeowner pays if it's, if the commission structure is so that they have a lower commission. Yeah. And then maybe they would say, okay, if you want staging, you need to pay for it. But most of the time the agent pays. So the homeowner's actually getting, hopefully they feel good value, getting some lessons on, decorating and being a bit more minimal. And then I've actually even had some homeowners say, in my next house, can you come and help me set it up? Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. So then I've found that's now another avenue of business that I didn't even realize I would have, which is I go in, stage their house, and then their new house, I go and help them set it up, whether they want new furniture or they just want me to style it. Like so many people just want it styled. And so
Right.
many people don't realize that you take away 50% of your stuff, your house feels better. There's that feeling.
Oh, that's like the
Right?
decompression
Yeah.
of so many things. When it comes to recommendation, as far as, what recommendations do you offer as far as, like, let's say, does it matter the size of the property? If someone's living in a condo, someone living in a single detached, for space wise, is there something that you follow in regards to what you recommend depending on the property, the type of property?
The type of property, I think
style?
Well, the staging principles, I guess, are the same no matter what.
Yeah.
So whether it's a condo or a large house, like I've been in small condos and then I've been in like massive homes in Oakville where they're like mansions. And really my recommendations are actually the same, whether it doesn't really matter. It's proportional furniture, minimal, very neutral, trendy to a point. So it doesn't actually, you can have a beautiful home and if it's cluttered or if it is got colors on the wall that, don't appeal to everyone, that's when I think.
So what kind of colors appeal to the majority?
Like a gray. Like it's
Gray.
kind of boring.
Right.
What would appeal to, it's kind of like looking at a 2022 design magazine and kind of looking at what is trendy, what looks good right now, what appeals to people. So on the walls, a lot of times it's a gray, it's a white.
And are you doing that because you're also giving the buyer an opportunity to see themselves in there?
Exactly. That's exactly it. So with staging, you are wanting to show off the best features of the home and minimize the not so great features. And you're wanting as many people when they're looking at the MLS listing, when they're going through photos, you want as many people being able to visualize themselves in the home as possible. So the more neutral, the more not specifically design focused, almost the better, because you're sometimes people can't see past a lot of times the designs, or people can't see past clutter and they can't see past
Color on the wall.
specific design.
Yeah.
They don't, as funny as this sounds, that, I don't know how many agents have said to me, people cannot see past if a color on a wall is orange, or if there's a really worn piece of furniture, people are turned off by that. And the agent will even say when they're going through, like, well, remember, that won't be there. This is the furniture for sure. This is theirs. The furniture won't be there, but people cannot see past what's there. Hence why staging is so important, because we want to set it up as neutral and nice as possible. So people go, oh, I want to live in this home because there's nice stuff in it. And then
Right.
they can see their stuff in it as well. And sometimes it's aspirational too, right?
Yeah.
It's like a dream home. Right. It doesn't actually have to be a dream home, but if it's set up really nicely, really well, more people are going to want to live there.
Right. And customer service. How is that important to you, and why is that important to you? Because that's essential. That's the that referral.
Absolutely.
You know,
I've got
it's
most of my
complimented.
business from word of mouth.
Word of mouth,
And
yeah.
I feel like agents are all they're pretty good at doing word of mouth. Like if you're liked by a couple of agents, and there are lots of stagers, but the market's not saturated in stagers, which is great for me.
Yeah.
There's lots, but there's always room for more. And that's what stagers have said to
So
me.
you were surprised with the market share.
I was
And you're
pleasantly
like,
surprised.
Hold on a second.
I was pleasantly
gotta
surprised. Yeah.
Hold.
Yeah. And I think most stagers can stage.
Yeah.
And where I wanted to, I guess, differentiate myself is I wanted to have that personal contact, that touch, that people not only at the end of the day have a nice home to get photographed and to sell, but they had a good time with me.
Right.
And that's one thing I actually miss about working in my corporate jobs or working at not-for-profit jobs is working on a team. I was always around people. I always went into an office. I loved that. And I miss that being an entrepreneur and working on my own. There's times where I don't see anyone throughout the day if I'm not staging or whatever. And so when I go and meet with agents or go into homeowners' homes, I'm actually energized by it. And I love that personal touch and meeting with homeowners and helping them.
So as a decision maker, you're making decisions, just Krista, Craig, and I at this point in time. So you miss that. Well, you're gonna hire people soon, no? Or that's something in the near future?
I don't know.
Or outsource some of the business aspects of running a business, right?
Yeah, I'm just
start
kind
talking
of
to those people.
I know. I'm just kind of going along with stuff right now, and
I mean, 75 homes. And it's only been a year and a half almost. That's something to say here. I mean, there's a valuable business here.
Yeah, there's no question that everybody I know, when I said I wanted to start this, I don't think anyone thought that I would be as busy as I am. Like Elliot, my husband says that, my family says that, my friends, we're all kind of surprised that I've got the amount of business, because most of the time, you know that when you start a business, it takes time. Yeah. I think that I was lucky getting into the business when I did. If I had started during COVID, I think that would have been very different, because a lot of staging wasn't happening. And I could have had 2 years of not really doing much. I went in at a good time where the market was busy enough, there was demand, and people were looking for stagers. And so I only needed a couple people. And I knew this at the beginning. I need one person to believe in me. I need one person to give me my first job. And then I can put the before and after pictures, which is everything, on Instagram, and then I can start promoting myself. Yeah. And I knew that.
And you're also leading with education now. I kind of looked at your Instagram, like you're really getting out there and teaching and just giving value.
Right.
And why is that important to you?
Well, I guess because I feel like it's the value is I think, and the education is why people hire me. Okay. So I'm showing that. And I'm actually now doing presentations at brokerages about staging and doing the educational piece. So I just did that last Wednesday at a brokerage in Burlington, where I actually went and I have my presentation and I talk about staging and all the different principles of it, and how my costs work and the services, and I even throw in some trivia questions about how many inches above a couch should the bottom of art hang? Because one of my biggest pet peeves is that you go into people's houses and art is either too small, too high, it just looks off. And people can't figure out, how do I make this piece of art over a couch look cohesive in a room? So there's an actual measurement, that there's principles of design that make it look good. So in my presentation, I have these trivia questions about area rug sizes and, the actual dimensions that make up what looks like a nice living room. And so afterwards, when I gave this presentation, one of the agents was like, I can't believe how much I learned today, like writing stuff down. And I said, well, when I started staging, this is what I had to figure out too. I didn't know the specific dimensions until I started, because I'm like, well, I got to make this art look good on the wall. So where do I hang it? How do I hang it? So I learned all that, and just giving back, then people know.
100%. You know what? As a real estate professional, the more you know, the more you can talk about, and better service your clients.
Yes.
Right. And you just did that not too long ago.
I did that last Wednesday.
Yeah, that was by invitation, I'm sure.
Yep.
Good for you.
Yeah, and then I have someone else actually who I'm going to be booking into another time, and I've done a presentation as well for EXP. So now I'm starting to get, which is funny when people are like, oh, can you come and talk to us? And at first, again, I have imposter syndrome. Like, you want me to? You want me to? But then I put a presentation together. I'm like, okay. I show it to a couple of people. I'm like, okay, I can do this. But at first, you're always just like, well, me? Don't you want someone else to come and talk? Like, I don't feel like I'm an expert yet.
Right. And so, it's funny you mentioned imposter syndrome. That's a big problem for entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Part of much, maybe you might feel that way because you just started. But I know of people that have been in business for a long time and still have the stage fright or the confidence. Like I just had a guest now Like, come on, man. You know, you went through, what is that all about? What do you think that's all about? Is that to kind of give, maybe it's like a natural way to give yourself is to always be on your toes and to always, I'm always trying to put a positive spin on a negative, you know? So that's my thought. What do you think?
Well, I think it's confidence. And I think when I've started new projects, when I was doing staging at first, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then you have the fear that you're going to fail. You have the fear you're not good enough. Like, cause I at the beginning I was like, oh, I'm a stager. I'm like, well, who am I to say I'm a stager? But then you do it a bunch and then you have enough people having good feedback. And then you start being like, oh, I am a stager. Okay. I feel it a bit more. But I think it's just confidence. But then when you go to your next thing, so it's like, okay, now I can go in and stage a house and I feel a bit more confident. But now I've started doing Airbnbs. So now people who are starting Airbnbs, they buy a place and they want to furnish it. They don't know how to do it. They want it to look nice. So they can hire someone like me that I like help them set it up.
And that's for that business model, especially so key.
Perfect.
Because people are buying just by the pictures.
Yep.
Oh, that looks nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I see myself staying there.
Exactly. So you want it to look nice. And you
Right.
know if you've looked in an area for Airbnbs, you're going to pick the one that you're not going to pick the one that doesn't look great.
Right.
So when I started then doing Airbnbs, I thought to myself, like, what am I like? You know, you have the attack of not being confident. You're like, what am I doing? Like, I can't do this. I don't know. And then I just pushed myself. I'm like, nope, you can like just do it. Like, what am I don't, if I'm going to fail at this, I'm at least going to try, as opposed to like not trying at all. And I keep going and doing something and doing a task and surprising myself that, okay, you can do it. And I actually do need that feedback though. So it's like when the homeowners walk back into the house or when the Airbnb owner walks in and sees it. And then I'm always like a little holding my breath being like, oh God, I hope they like this. And then they're like, oh my gosh, this is great. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I did it again. Because you're always worried you're not going to meet other people's expectations.
Right. And so there's some out there that say, who cares what people think? I think that's a bunch of bullshit.
Yes.
Because especially in business, you know, you're in business to create more business and build relationships.
Yeah.
You have to care about what your branding is, what your performance is and things like that. But what people forget is that your expectation of yourself is not the same with expectation of others. You're actually more hard on yourself
absolutely.
than people are to you.
Yes.
What is that all about? Like, I'm always wondering why that is. Where does that come from, in your opinion? It's a psychology question,
and I
but
think
like
I love psychology.
Yeah.
I love digging into that. And in fact, that's one of the things I like about staging is going into people's homes and trying to read them and trying to figure that out. So I love that part of it. And my challenge to myself always is if I show up at someone's doorstep and I can tell they don't really want me to be there, my challenge to myself is, oh, I'm going to make you like me by the time that we're through this. So I like psychology, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know where that comes from.
Well, my theory is that we actually know ourselves better than anybody else.
Right.
But maybe it's also the confirmation.
Right.
Of validation.
Right.
Not that it's going to make us or break us. Not that it's going to, we need to hear that to function and grow and stuff like that. But it's kind of like to just test what you're corresponding, and so it's a natural thing, but sometimes it might, depending on the strength of your mental health, that could also work against you.
For sure.
And something. So, we talked about, a lot of my guests were talking about earlier is about like therapy, like being in business, you need to talk to people. You need to, and so it's very important to hash those things out,
Yeah. Well, and I struggle with anxiety and I'm really open about it.
Yeah.
So anxiety and being an entrepreneur doesn't really go well together, but I wonder if every entrepreneur has a little bit of anxiety.
I have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause I just have that anxiety and I think
it anxiety? See, with me, it's just accomplishing. Like I need to accomplish.
Yeah.
And
you want
timeline. Timeline is a big deal for me.
Right.
is that something? Is it because is it the same for you, or is it a little bit different? Is it maybe anxiety of I need to get to?
It's
Or is it
anxiety. I think
I
you
need
want to
get
do. You want to
and
do
get it
well.
done? Right.
Like you just want to do. You want to do well, and I think for me, I want my husband and my family to be proud of me.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I have really high expectations of myself because I think I want, other people to be like, wow, like.
What about those little kiddos too, right?
Well, for sure. I feel well, they're so young right now. I think right now they just look at me as mom, and as long as I'm around, like
food, comfort, love.
But for sure, when they're older, that will be another thing. And I have 2 boys. So in my head, I also, it's important for me for them to see a woman out working, like a woman out. And I'm very sometimes clear, even today when I was leaving on a Sunday, I was very clear. I was like, oh, mommy has to go to work. I wish I was staying with you, but, daddy works and so does mommy. Yeah. And so I don't know. I think it's important, we're in the generation where like almost every woman I know does work, but to remind, the boys that, I have responsibility too, and I make money too. And, I'm contributing too.
Yeah. And you have the love of what you're doing, and you're wanting to get this bigger and grow it.
Yes.
And, when they're walking around as kids, they pick up on those things. And it's kind of nice for those 2 boys to walk in any room and say, my mommy does this.
Yes.
It's very important.
Right.
And, even for your husband too. It
Sure.
probably makes him happy that you're doing something for yourself as well.
Yes.
Right? And you mentioned your family, the importance of that as well. And so I think that's all natural things, very natural, but I think you're growing this at a very quick speed. I feel like 75 homes and, and you're talking and you're going to have need a second Krista.
Yeah, that'll be interesting because people are like, oh, are you going to grow? Are you going to hire people? And I think for me right now, my goal is to just be steady, to enjoy what I do, to not grow too fast. And honestly, just get really stressed out because I have a 2.5 and a 7-year-old. And if I've learned anything from people who are 10 and 20 years ahead of me, and even my own parents, it's the old saying, the days are long, but the years are short. Yeah. And I don't want to look back in 10 years and sacrifice time with the kids for growing a business because I know I'm going to do this for the rest of my life until I retire.
Gotcha.
So I'm really focused because I kind of burnt out last year too because I was so excited about getting work that I said yes to everything.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know
During that time, I was saying anytime any agent called me and said, can you stage? My answer was yes, as opposed to like looking at my schedule and figuring it out.
So earlier, I did not know that. And so so now I have a better understanding as why you're saying, hold on, Bruk. Like I've already put in all the hours and I don't want to go back to that.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of burnt out really quickly because again, I was saying yes with the assumption that if I said no, or if I said, oh, I can't do it Tuesday, but I could do it Wednesday, they'd go and find someone else.
Right.
So I was cramming so much in thinking as an entrepreneur, okay, I'm going to be busy this week, but it's going to be less busy next week. And then I can get caught up or then I can Right. And then week over week over week for like 3 or 4 months, that just kept up. And then I just remember there was just a couple circumstances that all came at once. And I was like, you know what? This is crazy. I have 2 little kids. My husband, Elliot, has a really busy job. I don't want the kids to sit in daycare and after school for a long time because I'm trying to fast forward my business by, however many years just because I'm crazy right now. Like I want it to be steady, have work, make an income, but I'm not sacrificing the kids.
That just tells me you're family first.
Totally.
Yeah. And family first, and that's such a good mindset to have.
Yeah,
because if you're not having the family taken care of, then other things kind of become a problem.
Well, and that's what happened. Yeah. That's what happened. Like I was dropping the ball on other things that would normally kind of be under my role. and I was getting really snappy at my husband. And in fact, I was expecting him, now that my career was taking off and growing, I was expecting him to now fill in all the blanks. Well, he's still really busy with, like, looking back. Yeah. That's actually really silly, because it's not like because my career is taking off, his is slowing down. Right. He's just as busy. Right. But I was putting this expectation on him that, like, no, you now have to do all this stuff, because now I'm suddenly, like, it's kind of my turn, which was, looking back, was wrong. Right. But there was growing pains for sure over the last year of, how do I have a business and be happy and be successful in it and have a family and be there for the kids?
I think that's really mature.
I guess it's mature. I think because I went through a period of time where I wasn't happy, and I actually did talk to a therapist, and it was really interesting because she said, just enjoy what you're doing. If you take the enjoyment out of what you're doing, like, what are you doing it for? And I actually went to my next stage and, like, had a total mind shift, because I was so busy before. I wasn't even enjoying what I was doing. I was cramming it in because I was always worried about, okay, I got to get this done in this time because the photographer's coming, so I got to be out of the house and I got to go pick up the kids and da-da-da-da-da. And then I totally, for a couple months, lost the enjoyment of it. And I think that was maybe even showing to clients because I wasn't taking the time and I wasn't having fun with it. And I think people probably picked up on that. So it wasn't until the therapist said to me, like, are you even having fun anymore? I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not. Yeah. So I need to slow down, to take on what I can, to say no to jobs, because I never said no to a job. Now I say no to jobs because they'll come back.
Honestly, your therapist must be really busy because you're not the first. Honestly, you're not the first business owner or in general, actually.
Yeah. Good. I think it's smart when people see therapists, 100%, right?
100%.
Because you're just too much in your head.
Yeah, yeah. How did you go about that though? How do you seek one? How did you find yours?
The person I see right now is actually a neighbor of my parents, and I got to know her over COVID because I was at home on maternity leave and I was having actually a really hard time anxiety-wise. Maternity leave, I'm an extrovert. Yeah. And I was very much had to be introverted during COVID with a baby, and she would actually come, and she was a swimmer. And my mom said one time, like, oh, do you want to have her come over? She'd like love to, because the pools were closed. Yeah. Would she be able to come over and do laps in your pool just because she needs exercise? And I was like, of course, sure. Like, it's sitting right there. And so her and I then developed a friendship. And I just started talking to her one day because she was like, oh, you don't like look good. Is everything okay? And I'm like, I am not okay. And I didn't even realize I was really like using her as a therapist, but we ended up sitting and chatting. And after I felt so much better, and then I said, like, can I like come and see you? And like, I think I need to talk more. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of came out of,
you know what? It's probably, and not to, say there's a huge difference, but it's a lot easier for women to take that leap. I feel like for a lot of men, I feel like it's like, oh, very reserved. We're in our own thoughts. Yeah. But man, would not be so helpful. Any tips that she shared with you other than that, finding, your happy place, but any tips that she's shared with you and how to go about, fixing yourself and, being better? In your case, it was like you're very busy. Like you're wanting to do things, but you're just had a baby as well. And she kind of talked you out of it, but any advice that she shared with you?
She's very much the type of person where she feels like I'm in what I'm supposed to be doing. And so the business will come. You do you be your, I hate to use a word authentic because it just sounds like everyone uses it, but you be yourself and the business will come. Yeah. And running around like a chicken with your head cut off, like trying to do this and like it just slow down, do what you can do, be kind of happy about what you're doing and kind of remind yourself why you're doing it, and the business will come. And there's been so many times where, because with staging, it's like real estate, it goes up and down. Right. So when I'm not busy, which is kind of in December right now, you have this anxiety of like, am I going to get another call? And I just keep her in my mind, just repeating, like, I'm doing what I can. I'm putting stuff out there. I'm working hard. Business will come. And you just,
Yeah.
it helps me in my anxiety.
Right.
That's for sure.
Right.
So
No, that's it. I mean, authenticity, there's something about why it's so magnetic, I feel
Yes.
like, you know?
yes.
But you're definitely on your way for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So just to wrap things up, how do people get in touch with you and how do they communicate with you?
I am on Instagram. So it's _home_enthusiast. And I actually don't even have a website. So that's just where I put all
There
my
you
stuff
go.
because it's free marketing.
Well, I mean, maybe you don't need it. My
I'm
goodness.
waiting to need it. I'm sure
Yeah.
maybe at some point I will. But at this
Yeah.
point, I'm like trying to keep my costs as minimal as possible.
Smart,
So
lean way.
yeah.
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 Well, thanks again.
Thank you.
Krista Craig, for coming, and we'll have you back again.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks.
Take care.